Society tells us that in midlife, we should be toiling away in that last decade and a half for some people towards the end, towards retirement, maybe towards something at the end of the rainbow. But I decided to quote unquote blow up my life at 55. And I want to tell you why I chose this age, why it was perfect for me, and invite you to think about how you might go after the things you want in midlife. Hello, this is Refreshing Words with Danielle Brooks, and I'm currently on a self funded sabbatical in San Miguel de Allende, Mexico. I also have some slow travel planned, but I made San Miguel my home base because I decided the bopping life wasn't quite for me. And so, why did I decide to blow up my life, and why do I think 55 was the perfect age to do it? I'm so glad you asked. I decided that I had spent the majority of my life playing by all of society's rules. Not only that, because of my upbringing, had a lot of childhood trauma and spent a lot of that life also in survival mode. One of the silver linings with that approach to my life was that I had created some career success for myself that did put me in a good financial position to be able to take this kind of break. So I don't want to gloss over that because I know that it is certainly a privilege to decide to walk away from a six-figure income. However, I must say, I certainly, while I got a lot of fulfillment out of my work, I was almost completely burnt out, like bone tired, really unfulfilled in many areas of my life, and hit a point that I just didn't want to toil away, hoping for some magic to happen at 65 or in 70 in some cases. I was working in my last previous job with quite a few 70 plus year old individuals that still garnered much of their fulfillment from work. I wasn't getting that kind of fulfillment out of my job at the point I decided it was time to take a break. I am so happy to be on this, what I'm calling creative sabbatical. I am writing, I am getting back in touch with my body, and just doing some things that I'm not quite sure a 65 or 70 or 75-year-old body could do in this part of Mexico that I am in. And so I have a bit of alliteration today as I was thinking about recording this video. The first thing that made 55 the age perfect for me was my level of fitness. Fitness to do the things I want to do, fitness to maintain the level of energy, to go out dancing like I did last night with some friends, fitness to walk on these uneven sidewalks and cobblestones in this beautiful city that I love. I just didn't want to take for granted that I would have the same level of fitness going into my 60s or 70s. And so that's why this felt like a perfect time to take a break. One of the things that really pushed me along with all of the unfulfillment at work were some significant deaths in my family. And for most of them, they were older relatives that had lived wonderful lives. But in some cases, I hadn't seen them really live in the fullness of enjoying all that they had amassed. In some cases, they were working till the end. I had another relative, or two actually, that died very young. And it just caused me to reflect and think that, I am grateful and thankful for what I have. And I just want to take some time to enjoy the fruits of my labor, again, while I'm still here in the land of the living, as we say in Christian circles. But again, while I had a certain level of fitness that I was able to do and am able to do the things that I want to do. The second F I've kind of alluded to is finances. Certainly not, independently wealthy by any means, but over the last 5 years leading up to this break, I got very intentional about my financial picture. I began investing, paying down massive debt following a divorce that I went through around the age of 49, and realized that I ran some numbers and set a goal to save an amount of money to take off at least a year from full-time work. I'm kind of what I'm calling barista fire. I'm not huge into the fire movement that is financial independent, retire early. But from my understanding for barista fire means that I have enough invested in retirement accounts that I can work full time, or what I say, not the big girl jobs that I had in the past, to be able to support myself from this age of 55 until I reach the age to access all of my retirement accounts. And so, I'm on a budget of about $2,000 a month for my sabbatical. And next year, I will be looking to do some kind of work. It'll be part-time, or again, something at a lower level of stress. And I'm able to do that because I have drastically lowered my expenses by paying off the majority of my debt and choosing to live in lower cost of living areas so that I am able to enjoy a life of ease, a life of travel, and again, just enjoy what many call the go-go years of midlife and beyond. Again, where I am healthy, where I, have great mobility, and just able to enjoy the things that make me happy, and not solely focused on, again, climbing a corporate ladder, going after titles, and just continuing to make work the center of my life. I will have some kind of work, but it will definitely be just a small part of my life to fund the joy and the happiness that I'm choosing to have in midlife. The third F, I think I'm on 3, is freedom. Freedom has been a huge theme for me, particularly, going on a healing journey, following my divorce, and digging into the root of my childhood trauma and how it was still showing up in my life. But at 55, I'm just free from people's opinions. I am free from, wondering about, what I wear or how I'm looking, with those kinds of superficial things. I am free from, whatever you envision or are dealing with in corporate settings. Free from mean girl drama, with grown people. Free from supervising employees. And I have had wonderful teams, and for the most part have enjoyed being a boss, being a manager, a supervisor. But it just feels good to be free of that, to only be concerned about myself. And so, again, as I think about what work might look like for me next year, it definitely is going to be an individual contributor kind of role where I am just responsible for myself. There is so much freedom in that for me. Living alone, I'm just free to eat what I want, have things how I want to have them. And so I feel that this has been great timing for me to just live and bask in that level of freedom. When I think back to the last time I had this in my 20s, before I got married and had children in my 30s, my 20s were just fraught. I did not enjoy what I should have been enjoying at that time. I was still so broken. I look at my 20s as just the decade where I was trying to make sense of my childhood and, had a very challenging relationship with my mother and grieving the death of my father. I just was not in the mental space to enjoy that freedom that I had in my 20s. And so, baby, thank you, Lord. I made it to the 50s and I am, not like 55 is the new 25 per se, but for me, I am enjoying that freedom that I feel that I just missed out on because of where I was emotionally in my 20s. And so I'm loving this freedom and I would not change it for anything. I would not change it for a title, for a corner office, for a salary. I just wouldn't trade it at all. Not at all, not today. And finally, the last F, I will say that I was, able to make this kind of move was having a level of faith. I am a believer, I'm a follower of Jesus Christ. I have had, a different relationship with organized religion over the last 5 years, but have never wavered in my faith, in the gratitude for how God has walked with me in this season. And so it takes a level of faith to decide to walk away from that level of financial security, from, again, people's opinions. But also for me, it was the ultimate faith to kind of put my money where my mouth is when I say that I know God is my source and that my jobs are a resource, and that walking away from that job does not change anything about my skills, my capabilities, or my knowledge, or the favor of God that operates in my life that enables me to walk in abundance. It was never the job. It was never the job. It was never the titles. It was never all those things that I put a lot of faith into, but ultimately it was the faith that lives inside of me, that I know that God is with me. And so taking this leap, again, was the ultimate test of my faith to put in action that which I have been speaking for, 30 years or more, 40 years at this point, I believe, in walking in faith, that God is my resource. And so that is where I am. I would love for you to think about, if you are someone who is toiling away and wondering, is this it? When is it going to be my time? Counting down the days to your 1 week vacation and fearing, dreading what is going to be waiting for you when you return from work, unable to turn your mind off from the job. It might be time to crunch those numbers and choose to take a break. You deserve it. You've worked hard for it. It might just surprise you how well you can live and enjoy your life in midlife by stepping back and taking a break it might surprise you. The ways in which your money can stretch, particularly in a different location, particularly when you are just opening yourself up to the possibilities of what life might look like, stepping off the corporate ladder, choosing to do something that is unconventional, and going against society's norms. So if this spoke to you in any way, I would love for you to comment below and just let me or others know how you might be thinking about midlife a little bit differently and choosing yourself in this season. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Take care until the next video.